Not sure what this one is either.
Just whatever they put in my hand.
Yeah. They put something in front of me. Yeah, it's good.
Ben, out on the ice with you guys this morning. Continues to be pretty neat to have him around.
Yeah, definitely. Cool experience for him and for us to have him out on the ice today and talk to him after a little bit. He had a lot of fun, so he's been a real inspiration for us. And I mean, you can tell. I mean, we've been rallying around him, and you see him in warm-up, see him after the game, coming out for the different periods. So. Yeah, I think it was a cool experience for him, and at the same time for us as well.
Over the last month or so, your team has shown this ability to kind of troubleshoot. When things come up in your game, you kind of address them and seem to be able to fix them. Have you noticed that as well, Rye? And like, where do you think that's coming from?
Yeah, well, I think we went through a lot of adversity in December and for those 16 game stretch, and I think we learned a lot about ourselves in that stretch and what we need to be able to do to get better. And you can't consistently have off nights, and we went through a stretch where we were doing that, and we didn't find a way to get back to our game quick enough. And I thought after that Columbus game, it would have been easy to have another one of those. And the way we bounced back and completely just played a complete different game. I mean, just back to what we're capable of doing it was a great sign for us.
I'm thinking about specific things like when the penalty kill dipped for a little while there, you guys got on it, you fixed it, and it's been really good since. Against Mini, the coach talked about net front and board play. It's been really good since. How do you guys, what's the process of identifying those things and weeding them out?
Yeah, well, we talk about it in the room. Coaches talk to us about it too, and show video, but I think just we trust our structure in all those situations that when we struggle, I mean, you're going to struggle in certain aspects of your game throughout a season. It's the way it goes, and you have to find a way to just get back to your structure and trust it. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is that trust factor in our abilities, but also in the structure that we have in every aspect. So it's a lot easier to have an off night in a certain area than be able to fall back on that.
Ryan, I guess just a thought. You guys have clinched. You got second place. What are you looking for from these last two games? There's not a lot of, hasn't often been around here where you have kind of meaningless games at the end of the season. But what are you guys looking for to do in these last two games before the playoffs start?
Well, I mean, definitely keep building our game. There's obviously things that you always want to keep improving, and we want these last two games. I mean, we still want to keep pushing and building our game individually as a team, and even ramp up the intensity a little bit, because whether it's Monday or Tuesday, it's going to be. I mean, there's you got to be 100% in. You got to be full bore by then. So I mean, we want to be able to ramp up the intensity even in these last two games, and keep working on what we need to work on.
What do you remember about 2017, the last time you got to play in front of fans and playoff atmosphere? Remember this, being in this room when the roof's almost caving in, the fans outside. I know it's been kind of weird the last couple of years with no fans, but what do you remember about that, and what are you looking forward to that?
I mean, just the atmosphere in the building was it was incredible, and we're excited to have them back for sure. Like you said, the last 2 years have kind of been weird that way, so definitely excited to get that buzz back in the building, but also just around the arena, and go to the grocery store, and just that buzz around the city is you can feel it. So it's already starting, and we want to get some energy from them, and give them something to be happy and energetic about.
And last one for me, just starting at home, is that a big deal for you guys to getting this thing off here at home?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously something that we've worked for all year, and we've done a good job in the past month or so of establishing this building as being hard to come in and play against us here. So it's definitely, I feel like you always kind of want to start at home and get that energy from your fans, from your building, and the way that we've been playing at home lately is a good sign, but definitely got to keep pushing.
Hey, Ryan, with your position being solidified in the playoffs, is your preference to continue to play the same role, same minutes in these last two games, or how much does, making sure that you're rested for the first game of the playoffs come into, account right now?
I mean, I would like to, I like to just kind of keep on the same page here and keep building, like I said before, and we'll have a couple days at least between Friday and whenever it does start, so you'll be able to get a day of rest and then kind of have a good practice day. And personally, I kind of like that it's not a full week of just waiting around. I like that it's you kind of get into it. You have a few days to get your body in order and your mind in order, but then you get going right away again. So I don't know about the other guys. Some guys might want a little more rest, but I think for me personally, I like to just kind of keep the same role, keep the way it's been going.
Are you getting a jump on the playoff stash?
No, this will be coming off before Monday.
Ryan, is this team you're going into the playoffs this year better than the 17 team, you think?
Yeah.
How is it different, maybe?
Yeah, it's hard to compare two different teams, 2 different years, but I think that year we were bigger, we were a physical team. I mean, we definitely had some big guys up front on defense. So I think this year we just where we get teams is we come in waves, and every line has the same mentality. We're gonna use our speed. We're gonna make it tough to defend us down low, and off the rush we're a dangerous team. But what we've been building on these last couple months is our in zone play, and every line has the same mentality. And it's hard to compare 2 teams that you've been on. I mean, that was obviously a good team, but I think this is the deepest team I've ever been a part of, and I'm excited to see what we can get done. And obviously nothing's going to come easy. You have to prepare, and I think our experiences in the past will help us moving forward here.
One last question. The difference between Todd McClellan running a bench and Jay Woodcroft running a bench, is there any difference, or is there a difference with the way Todd would message with the individual players and Jay messages?
Well, I mean, I would say they have similar kind of methods and ideas as far as coaching goes, but obviously 2 different people, so they have different different ways of getting messages across to guys individually and as a group, so different mannerisms and stuff. So definitely two different people behind the bench, but I would say kind of similar methods and ideas.
Hey, Ryan, what about, you talk about your depth of your team. There's been a lot of focus on how much better you guys have improved 5-on-5 defensively here, backtracking more, but offensively, you've created way more as a group. What do you feel like your line, there were shifts in Pittsburgh, all the lines, almost like on a power play, control the puck for a long time. What are you doing different offensively as groups 5-on-5 that's allowing more success?
Well, I mean, definitely, it kind of starts with, like you said, the backtracking for us forwards, and that allows our D-men to stand up in the neutral zone and even at the blue line. We always want to have each other's back, so we don't want to give up those 3-on-2s, the odd man rushes, and that starts with the forwards being in good position, allowing the D-men to be able to step up and keep pucks alive, and that goes a long ways as a forward. I mean, you want the D to be able to step up and be right on top of the winger, so they don't get any free outs, and they keep pucks alive, so you can keep playing down low. And that's something that definitely we've 5-on-5 we've improved in the past couple months, and we still want to keep building on that. But I think it's just 5 guys with the same idea working together out there, and something that we've definitely gotten better to is just putting pucks on net and going to get the rebounds.
You've had a few coaches here. You're going in the playoffs with a guy who's, he's been around a long time, but he's a fresh new NHL head coach, and he's taken this team in the playoffs after a few pretty successful months. What, looking back over all the personalities and all the methodologies and stuff you've seen here, what stands out with Jay? What do you different?
Well, I mean, his energy level is high always, which I think you feed off as a player. You feed off that, so I think that's definitely a positive thing. And I mean, the way that he hammers on the details of every aspect of the game, you know exactly what's expected of you. Like I was kind of saying before, if you struggle in one aspect of the game, you can fall back on the structure because we know exactly what we need to do to have success. So that's something that he brought here, and obviously that's going to go a long way when it comes to playoff time. You want to be able to fall back if you go through a rough game or a rough even couple games or couple periods. You want to be able to fall back on that structure and have trust in that.
I would think every coach wanted structure, though. I would think every coach wants, to be positive. Is this maybe an intersection of a group of players that are sort of ready? Like, it seems to me that maybe this group is smarter and more mature and able to execute Jay's plan maybe more than previous coaches. Is that fair?
I mean, we've had success since he's come, for sure, but I mean, it kind of starts right now, or on Monday, Tuesday, whenever we were going to start. It's I mean, we just have to go and do it. I mean, there's nothing easy in this league, and I've learned that over my 10, 11 years in this league now, and you have to just be able to do it. So I mean, we can talk about it and over and over again, but I mean, the fact is we got to be able to go do it and prove that we can do it when it comes time.
Sorry, Ryan, just one more from me. Just want to ask you, now that you're playing the Kings, I guess, and you got a few days to prepare for them, I guess, what kind of challenges are they going to bring you?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got to see him a few times this year. We know the way that Todd coaches, and it's going to be tight checking. We know that. I mean, they don't want to give up anything off the rush, and I think that's something that when we played in Winnipeg last year, that was kind of their mentality in the first round as well. They don't want to give up much off the rush, and I think we've grown as a team and learned from that, and have found ways to get around that a little bit better this year. And obviously, it's going to be a tough series. It's going to be a tight checking series, but we got to find a way to get that extra one, or just push that a little bit harder. Thanks. Yep.
Hey, Derek, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. I guess first off, just want to ask you about Ben. I know he was out on the ice with you guys, and there's been a lot of, I guess he's been a pretty big source of inspiration for you guys. Can you just give me a thought on him and having him around?
Yeah, I think it's just fun to have him around. Kind of brings a positive energy. You guys are laughing, smiling, and it's just fun to put a smile on his face too. Seeing him laughing and smiling makes us do the same thing. So it brings a little joy and fun to the rink.
Does it bring things a little bit into perspective as well when you see a little guy like that going through what he's going through?
Yeah, I think so. I think for most guys in there, it's a little dose of reality to realize that, you know, there's bigger things out there than hockey, and we're trying to build up for a playoff run here. But at the end of the day, there's things in life, a lot of things that are bigger than hockey. So it brings that into the locker room for sure.
Now, you got 2 games here. What do you guys want to use these games as, kind of as a lead into the playoffs?
I mean, I don't know if we're thinking of it that way. We don't need to use them in any regard. I think we're just preparing for them like we would any other game. We're just preparing. We want to have our game in order. And it doesn't matter if it's game 80, 81, 82, or game 1 of the playoffs. We have to have that consistent mindset of being able to play our game night in and night out. So that's our preparation for tonight.
And I guess when it comes to knowing your opponent, how much does that help, knowing that you'll have a few days to kind of prepare, but you don't want to look past these 2 opponents, but at what point do you start focusing on LA?
Yeah, we haven't really started focusing in terms of our meetings or anything like that. I'm sure that'll happen after the game tomorrow. But like I said, we're just preparing like this is a big game for us against San Jose. And that's how we're going to come to the rink tonight, is to play a big game.
Thanks, sir.
Hey, Derek, can you just talk about having fans, a full crowd for the playoff games, and what that will mean and what kind of potential impact that could have for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't here last year with 0 fans in the playoffs, but I'm sure it was a different experience. Yeah, I think everyone's just excited for the energy in the building. You can kind of feel it at the last few home games. The energy's building. The city, the buzz in the city is kind of building as well. So, yeah, like I said, I wasn't here last year, so I can't compare it to that, but I'm sure it's a stark contrast.
For yourself personally, how much does making sure, I guess, that you're rested for the playoff games come into account? Do you prefer just to kind of play the same role that you have in these final 2 games and feel like, you know, you're sharp and in a rhythm, or does rest come into, you know, your mind as you go into these playoff games?
I'm sure every guy is different, but for me personally, I don't think rest is what I would prefer, most guys would prefer. We kind of went that route my first year in Calgary when we won the West, and we put it in cruise control for the last few weeks of the season, and we all know what happened there. So I just don't think that's how you want to go into playoffs. It's not a light switch. You can't turn it off for a couple of games then expect to turn it on for game 1 of playoffs. It's just not how playoff hockey works. So guys might differ in my opinion on that, but that's how I feel about it.
Derek, you had lots of coaches over your years, you know, all the way back. Jay seems like he's shown up at the right time for this team. He seems like the right coach for the right team at the right moment somehow. Can you let us in a little on what you're experiencing with him compared to all the other coaches you've had? What are the things maybe he's doing that you haven't seen before?
Geez, you make it sound like I've been traded around and seen a bunch of coaches. No, I'm older, so I've seen a bunch of coaches for sure. He's just been exactly what we need. He's been similar to what I had in Carolina with Bill Peters. I didn't have Rod Brindamore as a coach there, but I'd say he's similar to him as well in that he's super interested about details and structure, and that's what he's implemented in our game, and I think that's kind of what was missing from our game the early parts of the year too. So he's a good communicator. He's really open. When I was getting scratched there a couple weeks ago, he called me and let me know right away, and we had a conversation. So it wasn't like I was in the dark or there was a lack of communication there. So it's for me, it's been a real positive experience. I think he's brought a lot of things into our dressing room that we've needed, addressed a lot of things in our game that we've needed to be addressed, and I've enjoyed having him around.
Compared to the old school coach that often will coach as if we're still in, previous years, does today's player need that coach? Is this the right, does today's player need a different type of coach than the guy maybe you had 8, 9, 10 years ago?
Well, I think kids are just different now. Everybody has a different personality and everybody reacts differently. That old school mentality where you're kind of, beating guys over the head with the broomstick, what you want to say or whatever is, some guys react to that. Some guys need that. And then some guys need more of a caring touch where you say, hey, these are the parts of your game that need to be addressed, show you some video and a little bit more of a softer touch, I guess we'll say. So I think the hard part of being a coach is trying to balance all those different personalities and being able to bring out the best of everyone, and not everyone's going to react to the same mentality the same. So you have to have a different mentality with different guys. And so, yeah, that's how I feel.
Derek, you've played the Kings 4 times this year. What makes them successful at what they do? It looks like they try to negate rush chances, and they have 2 really good checking centers in Kopitar and Danault as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll analyze their game more as we move towards game 1, but I think that they play a really structured game. They play a defensively sound game. It's not a game where you play them and there's a bunch of 2-on-1s or 3-on-2s. Your scoring chances are few and far between. You have to capitalize on those chances, and you have to be patient in your game. You can't get outside of your game to try and create chances, because they're just going to turn the puck over and create their own chances. You can't turn it into a track meet. They won't allow it to. So, yeah, they're a good team. They've obviously had success there in the past. They have the core there that knows how to win. And if you ask me, come playoff time, that's how you win. You're defensively sound. You don't give up much, and you take advantage of your opportunities.
Does it seem odd to play an LA team without Drew Doughty, who plays so much on the blue line? Does a player on the opposition notice that Doughty's not there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's a world-class player. I think there's a couple of other faces there that would fit in that category, Kopitar and Brown. Doughty, obviously, quick, and those guys, that core that's been there for so long, that has brought the glory to that city a couple times. So, yeah, Doughty's a big part of their lineup, but I think they've also had some young guys that have stepped in and played really well, so can't really count that as an advantage.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Derek, so you've played NHL playoff games in front of thousands and thousands of fans. You played, youth sports games where there'd be student sections, and you've played in Europe where there's probably a lot of chanting and drums and all that kind of stuff. Do you have a most memorable sort of fan experience or fan environment that you played in?
Well, you almost took me through my whole career there a little bit. Yeah, I'd say in Sweden was probably one of my most memorable experiences. The crowd there, it's just like that soccer mentality where the crowd's standing the whole time. They have the drums and the chants, and they have their songs that they're singing, and it's just it's different than North America, and I thought it was a cool experience.
Just one for me, Derek. How would you assess your team's ability to identify and fix problems in your game as they pop up along the way here?
Well, I think that's Woody's job, and Woody's been really good at that. I think that's we were searching for that earlier in the year where things weren't going our way, and it just felt like we were being told to work harder or just be better, and we were searching for more answers. And I think Woody's done a good job of bringing those answers in, saying, hey, this part of your forecheck or your neutral zone, your face-off detail, all those things are important, and these are things that you can do to get better in those areas. And I think playoffs, specifically to your question there, is about adapting, being able to change when the other team changes. And I think Jay will be really good at that because he's shown it so far during his time here.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks.
Just wondering if you have any sort of update on Darnell Nurse and the likelihood that he might be ready to go for the start of the playoffs.
Well, we're worried about tonight's game. He's out of tonight's game, but it was nice to see him in person today, and we'll see where he is tomorrow. But tonight he's out.
So at this point, not sure, or just not willing to look into the future to?
We're taking care of today's business, Ryan, and he's out of our lineup tonight.
One of the traits your team has shown is a pretty good ability to identify problems and troubleshoot them. What would you say about your group's sort of willingness to take those lessons and the way you guys have gotten through those issues in a fairly timely fashion?
Yeah, I think as much as we want our players to be perfect or our team to be perfect, there are moments that prove to be learning moments throughout a season. And as a coaching staff, we want to capitalize on those moments, as much as sometimes they're not that fun to go through, but we want to take advantage and make sure that we do correct some things. And I think when you go through periods like that or games like that, what I found about our group is that the next day we have their attention, and our job as a coaching staff is to find answers and develop solutions, and we've had a really, really attentive audience anytime we've been in that situation.
Broberg's up. Will he just play the one game and then go back because you're sitting out Russell?
Broberg's in our lineup tonight, and we're taking care of today's business. So he's in our lineup tonight, and we'll see what happens after the game or for tomorrow.
Is it your goal to at least get Archibald a game before the season ends?
I would like to, yeah. Yeah, I would like to, but Archie's not in our lineup tonight. And again, that's just not trying to kid around or anything like that. That's just where we're at. We're taking care of today's business, and then after the game, we'll move on to tomorrow.
And did you have a conversation, I presume you did, with Dustin as to the 2 games left, which goalies would play, and were they both going to play one? Did you ask Mike, who played, last game, which game do you want, or how did that go?
Yeah, I mean, that's just part and parcel with the communication that we have as a coaching staff, and then communication with our players as well. We don't make any goaltending decisions, or I don't make any goaltending decisions without first considering the opinions of our leader in that department, which is Dustin Schwartz.
You will still play, Connor and Leon and whoever's your big guns, both games?
We're taking care of today's business, and Connor and Leon and all the big guns that we have in our lineup that are playing tonight are focused on the San Jose Sharks.
Has Darnell Nurse been skating on the ice?
No, he has not skated on the ice, but it was nice to see him in person today.
Thank you.
Jay, what's your philosophy in terms of preparing for the playoffs? Do you prefer your guys to stay in the same routine, play the same role, or do you put a focus or a premium on making sure that guys are rested before your first playoff game?
Yeah, I think for us, and it's almost been I keep saying it, but we're focused on the day's business, and we've kept consistent with that messaging right from day one. And I think for our team, we want to make sure that we're in a rhythm, in the proper rhythm, doing things properly, having purpose to our work, understanding that today is an opportunity for us to get better and refine some things in our team game so that we're ready when we start with game 83. But as I said, I keep going back to it, we're taking care of today's business.
Hi, Jay. Drew Remender from the San Jose Sharks.
Hi, Drew.
Nice to meet you. What were your positives in your years in the San Jose Sharks you're able to take away you're using now?
Well, the first thing I would say...
Besides the broadcasters were way better.
Yeah. The first thing that I would say is I created a bunch of really good relationships with people that work for the team, players that were on those teams, and people in the community. Lifelong friendships that I'll carry with me as I move forward throughout life. I learned a lot of really good things from the high-end players that we had on those teams. There were a lot of playoff games, and though we didn't, during that time frame, didn't win the Stanley Cup, we were right there on numerous occasions. So I learned a lot, and a lot of lessons that I take forward in my coaching career.
Do you then, to extrapolate on that, we always ask players, you know, what players made you the player you are today? What are the things you learned from different guys? For you, I would ask about coaches. What are the coaches that, you know, you pick a piece of every day when you're making your game?
Sure. Yeah. So when I was a player, I played for a lot of really good coaches, a lot of people who were passionate about the game. One of my favorite coaches was someone named Mark Reeds, who he played for the St. Louis Blues, and he ended up working his way up to the National Hockey League, worked for Ottawa Senators before he passed away. So he was someone who had an impact on me as a young player, and someone I kept in touch with. Obviously, going back to our staff in Detroit, all 4 members of that staff in Detroit went on to become head coaches in the National Hockey League. There was Mike Babcock, Paul McLean, Todd McClellan, obviously. And then I've had good fortune of working at some international tournaments where I created some friendships. Peter DeBoer is one, someone I talked to. You know, in terms of the Team North America, Dave Tippett was there, John Cooper was there, Gerard Gallant, all kind of who's who of the generation of coaches that are coaching in the National Hockey League. Each one left an indelible mark on me and has affected the way I think about the game. I've also worked with a lot of really good assistant coaches, guys like Trent Yanni and you know, Larry Robinson, Matt Shaw, Jim Johnson, Ian Herbers here in Edmonton, and some of the assistant coaches that I've had along the way when I've been a head coach. Obviously, you guys know Dave, but you know, JF Hool's been a good coach, and now is starting his career in Laval in the American League as a head coach, and Colin Chalk, who's down in Bakersfield for us. So I think what happens as you weave your way through your coaching career is that different people have different influences on you, and you take a little piece of each person. And I'm fortunate because I've been around some really, really good people.
Jay, it looks like based on the morning skate, yes, he's going to get back in the lineup tonight, back with McDavid and Kane. Him and Yamamoto swap. Well, you know, obviously it's good to have flexibility. What do you see in the difference when you put either one on either the McDavid or the Draisaitl line? Is there something that you like?
I like the versatility of being able to use either one in that position. I think for Yessi, you know, he's obviously a big body, someone who goes to hard areas and opens up space for his line mates. I think when I think of Yamamoto, I see someone who does a lot of work for his line mates, plays inside people, hounds pucks, keeps pucks alive. Both of them have been good defensively, and I think just having the flexibility to move them around the lineup makes them dangerous players, and it's a good luxury for a coaching staff to have.
You've talked a lot this year about, you know, certain things you want to do right every day, and one day it's rest right. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Derek Ryan talked about his experience that one time we were on a team and we were clinched and we kind of just relaxed, and guys played less minutes, some guys healthy scratch, didn't like it.
Yeah.
Him and Nuge both said they want to play, and you're big on communication. When you talk to your guys over these next 2 games, and specifically tonight, so let's focus on today.
Yeah.
Are you still into, you know, tonight as balancing? I want guys to stay in a rhythm, but also being mindful of rest, so maybe some minutes are reduced. How do you balance that?
First of all, I want to compliment you. You could be up here now and be given that message, so good job, Jason. I would say that and I tried to explain it earlier in one of my answers, was that we want to have purpose to our work tonight. And the biggest thing is that we're trying to be ready for game 83 and make sure that we maintain our level of rhythm. And to do that, you don't want to do things that are out of character. So we're going to stay in character. We're going to continue to work at different parts of our game. We have a focus tonight. And for us, the thing that's not lost on us is that the San Jose Sharks are playing hard. They're playing very hard. And they're going to push us tonight, and we better be ready for them.
You talked about one of the few times where it was a bigger picture, was 100 points as a team. You've achieved that. You've also, now you've got 12-0-1 in your last 13 games. Since March 9th, you haven't lost in real hockey. You lost in a shootout. What's changed for your team on home ice? Because you were here for close to a month, and now in the last 7 weeks, you haven't lost a game while playing real hockey. What's changed for your home team mentality and psyche?
Well, I think and every team, I believe, starts out with the goal of making their home ice difficult to play in. And we just put a real emphasis on playing the game the right way, not trying to put on a show, not trying to do anything out of character, just putting an emphasis on speed and simplicity in our own building and feeding off the energy of our crowds. One of the things that we've had here over that time is good starts, and we're going to need that as we move forward. Good, thanks.